The stories spread like wildfire across the galactic networks. Humans could survive what no other species could. Their frail, water-filled bodies belied a terrifying resilience. They endured radiation that would melt Carthian exoskeletons. They fought through toxins that would dissolve Volsari neural pathways. They kept breathing in atmospheres that should have killed them in seconds. But even the most fervent believers in human exceptionalism drew the line at black holes. The fundamental laws of physics didn't care about willpower or determination. Nothing escaped a black hole's grasp, not light, not matter, not even the infamous human spirit, until Captain Alara Voss proved them wrong. The bridge of the Star Chaser fell silent as the message from High Command appeared on the main display. Commander Kael's four eyes narrowed simultaneously, a sign of extreme displeasure among the Tressian species. His crystalline exoskeleton caught the blue light of the ship's interior, casting prismatic shadows across the command deck. "Captain Voss," he said, mandibles clicking with each syllable, "it appears your reputation has earned you yet another impossible assignment." Alara maintained her composure, though internally she cursed. Another suicide mission, barely 3 weeks after the last one. She stood straight-backed in her standard-issue combat suit, the only human among the 12-member crew. At 5'9", she was dwarfed by most of her alien colleagues, particularly Commander Kael, who towered at nearly 8 feet. "Sir, I assume this concerns Nix's Maw?" she asked, referring to the recently discovered black hole at the edge of disputed territory. Kael's upper eyes blinked in affirmation while his lower pair remained fixed on her face. "Intelligence reports a downed Galactic Coalition vessel carrying data crystals of immense strategic value. The ship's distress beacon is still active, but it's drifting dangerously close to the event horizon." "How close?" Alara asked, already calculating survival odds. "Too close for comfort," came a melodic voice from behind her. Rin, the ship's Elori engineer, moved to join them. His bioluminescent skin pulsed with a soft amber glow. Concern. In Elori, emotional display. Unlike Kael's imposing frame, Rin's species was slender, almost ethereal in appearance. "The gravitational distortion is already affecting our long-range scans." Alara nodded. "What's the timeline?" 48 hours before the vessel crosses the point of no return," Kael replied. "We're the only ship in range with a chance of intercepting it, and I'm the only one crazy enough to attempt retrieval." Alara finished his unspoken thought. Commander Kael's mandibles clicked, the Tressian equivalent of a humorless laugh. "Precisely why High Command requested you specifically. Captain, humans have a reputation." Alara felt the familiar weight of expectation settle on her shoulders. 5 years serving in the Galactic Coalition forces, and still, she was viewed as something between a curiosity and a weapon, the unpredictable human who somehow survived when others didn't. "I'll need a specialized craft," she said. "The standard shuttles won't handle the gravitational stresses." Rin's skin flickered to a deep blue. "I've already begun modifications to Shuttle 3. If you're actually doing this, you'll need every advantage." "If?" Alara raised an eyebrow. "Since when do I have a choice in these matters?" Commander Kael's crystalline body shifted, refracting light in patterns that Alara had learned to recognize as discomfort. "For once, Captain, you do. High Command values the intelligence, but they've classified this as a volunteer mission only. The risk assessment is prohibitive." Alara almost laughed. "So they want the intel, but don't want the responsibility of ordering someone to their death. How considerate." "Perhaps," Kael conceded, "but it also means you can decline without consequence." For a moment, Alara considered it. She'd survived 7 high-risk operations in the past year alone. Her luck, or whatever kept her alive, couldn't last forever. Eventually, the universe would collect its due. Then she thought of her squad from 3 years ago. The faces of those who hadn't made it back from Tarax's prime. The promises she'd made to their memories. "I'll do it," she said. "But I want to select my team." "No team." Kael's response was immediate. "Single pilot operation only. Command won't authorize multiple casualties for this retrieval." "So I'm expendable." "But no one else is," Alara challenged. Rin's skin pulsed rapidly between blue and purple. Anxiety. "No one said expendable. Alara." "No one needed to," she replied. Commander Kael straightened to his full height. "You've survived scenarios with lower probability than this. Captain, that's why you're here. That's why humans are both feared and respected, despite your species' late arrival to interstellar society." Alara knew he meant it as a compliment, but it only reinforced what she'd always felt. Humans were valued for their capacity to endure, not for who they were as individuals. "I'll depart at 0600, she said. "Have Rin's modifications completed by then." As she turned to leave the bridge, Rin fell into step beside her. The Allori's natural luminescence lit the corridor ahead of them. "You don't have to do this," he said softly. "No one would think less of you." Alara smiled thinly. "Yes, they would, especially the humans back home. We've built our place in this coalition on being the ones who do the impossible. There's a difference between difficult and suicidal." Alara. They reached the ship's observation deck, a hemispheric room with transparent alloy providing an unobstructed view of space. In the distance, a faint distortion marked the location of Nyx's maw, the black hole that had claimed 3 expeditionary vessels already. "Why do you do it?" Rin asked, his glow dimming to almost nothing, a sign of deep contemplation. "Is it duty, glory, or something else?" Alara pressed her palm against the cool, transparent surface, eyes fixed on the distant singularity. "Do you know what humans feared most before we reached the stars?" "Each other, from what I've studied," Rin replied. "Not just that. We feared meaninglessness. We feared that all our struggles, our achievements, everything we built would eventually be swallowed by entropy. That the universe didn't care whether we lived or died. And now? Now we know it doesn't," Alara said. "But we fight anyway. That's what your people don't understand about us. We already accepted the universe's indifference. We just refuse to let that stop us." Rin's skin pulsed with gentle green waves. "Understanding, or an attempt at it. Is that what drives you toward death so readily?" "I don't seek death," Alara corrected him. "I just don't let the fear of it dictate my choices. There's a difference." The Allori was silent for a long moment before speaking again. "The modifications I'm making to the shuttle, they're experimental, theoretical, in parts. The gravitational compensation system might buy you minutes at best. Minutes could be enough. And if they're not?" Alara finally turned to face her friend. "Then you'll tell my story. The human who finally found the limit of human stubbornness." Rin's skin flashed crimson, the Allori equivalent of frustration. "This isn't a joke, Alara." "I know," she said, her expression softening. "But gallows humor is another human tradition. Helps us face the void." As the observation deck's automatic lighting adjusted to the dimming shipboard cycle, Alara gazed once more at the distant black hole. In less than 12 hours, she would be closer to it than any living being had ever come and survived. The thought should have terrified her, but instead, she felt an unsettling calm, the same calm that had descended over her during the Taraxis Prime disaster. "Get some rest," Rin said, touching her shoulder lightly. "I'll have the shuttle ready." After he left, Alara remained, watching the stars. She wondered if any of her ancestors, staring at Earth's night sky centuries ago, had ever imagined that humans would one day navigate black holes. Probably not. But they had dreamed of reaching the stars, despite knowing how impossible it seemed. Maybe that was humanity's true strength, not survival itself, but the audacity to attempt what seemed beyond reach. Ilara's quarters were Spartan by most standards, a concession to her frequent reassignments. A small desk bore the only personal item she allowed herself, a holographic projection of Earth's night sky as seen from her childhood home in the Pacific Northwest. She activated it now, finding comfort in the familiar constellations. She accessed her personal terminal and began recording what might be her final log entry. Captain Ilara Voss, ID 7294 Alpha. Pre-mission statement for Operation Midnight Retrieval. She paused, then continued more informally. If you're reviewing this, I'm probably dead. The Black Hole won, which is, statistically, the expected outcome. I want the record to show I undertook this mission voluntarily, with full awareness of the risks. She hesitated, then added, for any future human recruits who might hear this, we're not invincible. The stories they tell about us are exaggerated. We bleed, we break, we die like any species. The difference is, we've made peace with that a long time ago. Don't try to live up to the myth. Just do what humans have always done, your best against impossible odds. A soft chime interrupted her recording, someone at her door. Enter, she called. Commander Kael ducked through the doorway, his crystalline form catching the light from Earth's projected stars. Commander, Ilara acknowledged, closing her log. Come to wish me luck. Tressians don't believe in luck, he replied, mandibles clicking softly. But I've come to offer something you may find more valuable. He extended a data crystal, its faceted surface glinting blue and gold. What's this? Ilara asked, accepting it cautiously. Additional information about Nyx's maw that wasn't included in the official briefing. Gravitational anomalies, temporal fluctuations, unusual radiation signatures. Not enough to substantially improve your chances, but every edge counts, Ilara finished, slotting the crystal into her terminal. Thank you. Kael's exoskeleton shifted, plates realigning in the Tressian expression of awkwardness. I've commanded mixed-species crews for 30 cycles. Captain Voss, I've served with Carthians who can regenerate limbs, Volsari who can process toxins that would dissolve most organic matter, and Hydraxian telepaths who can anticipate threats before they materialize. Quite the resume, Ilara commented, scrolling through the data. None of them volunteered for a mission like this? Kael continued, it's not merely a suicide mission, it's one where death would be unpleasant. Spaghettification at the event horizon is not a fate I would wish on anyone. Ilara looked up from the terminal. Is this supposed to be encouraging? It's supposed to be honest, Kael replied. What I'm trying to understand, what many of us non-humans try to understand, is why do humans consistently volunteer for scenarios where survival is a statistical improbability? It was a question Ilara had been asked in various forms throughout her career. The answer she gave usually depended on who was asking and why. Different reasons for different humans, she said finally. For some, it's about proving something. For others, it's duty or protecting something they value more than themselves. And for you? Ilara considered deflecting, as she usually did. But facing what might be her final mission, honesty seemed appropriate. Taraxis Prime, she said simply. 3 years ago. Kael's upper eyes blinked in recognition. You were the sole survivor of that massacre. My squad died because I made a tactical error. I assessed the risk incorrectly. I lived while they died, not because I was stronger or smarter, but because of random chance. Survivor's guilt, Kael observed. A common human psychological response, I'm told. It's more than that, Ilara said. Every impossible mission I survive is a second chance they never got. Every time I beat the odds, I justify my survival that day. Kael was silent for a long moment, his crystalline body completely still. Then his mandibles clicked softly, a sound Ilara had learned to interpret as thoughtfulness. I've never understood human spirituality, he said finally. But this reminds me of the Tressian concept of soul debt, the belief that surviving when others perish creates an obligation to honor their memory through one's actions. Something like that, Elara admitted. Though humans would probably just call it being haunted. Then you believe in ghosts, Captain Voss? Elara smiled faintly. Only the ones we carry inside us. Commander. Kael moved toward the door, then paused. The data I've provided includes a theoretical escape vector. Should you somehow retrieve the intelligence and find yourself in the black hole's gravitational well, it's improbable, but not impossible. Improbable, but not impossible, Elara repeated. That might as well be humanity's motto. After Kael left, Elara studied the new data carefully. The escape vector relied on using the black hole's accretion disk to generate a slingshot effect, dangerous and requiring split-second timing, but theoretically sound. It was more than she'd expected to have. She closed the file and lay back on her bunk, watching Earth's stars rotate slowly above her. Tomorrow she would face Nyx's Maw, an appropriate name for a phenomenon that devoured everything that came too close. In ancient Earth mythology, Nyx was the goddess of night, mother of death and sleep. Elara closed her eyes, not expecting sleep to come easily, but her body, trained through years of military service to rest whenever possible before a mission, pulled her quickly into darkness. Her dreams were filled with distorted space and the faces of those who hadn't returned from Taraxis Prime. The modified shuttle hummed with energy as Elara completed her pre-launch checks. Rin had outdone himself with the modifications. The small craft now sported experimental gravitational compensators, reinforced structural integrity fields, and an enhanced propulsion system. The compensators will buy you approximately 23 minutes in the gravitational distortion zone. Rin explained, his skin pulsing with anxious yellow patterns as he made final adjustments. After that, the system will fail catastrophically. 23 minutes to find the ship, dock, retrieve the data crystals, and get out. Elara summarized. Cutting it close. Too close, Rin agreed. The temporal distortion near the event horizon will make it feel even shorter from your perspective. Time will literally be against you. Elara ran her hand along the shuttle's console, familiarizing herself with the modified controls. What about communication? Unreliable at best. Once you're in the heavy distortion zone, we'll lose contact. The quantum entanglement communicator might work sporadically, but don't count on it. Commander Kael entered the shuttle bay, accompanied by several other crew members. Even Zeev, the typically reclusive Hydraxian navigation officer, had come to witness her departure. Final authorization codes have been transmitted to your shuttle, Kael announced formally. The Star Chaser will maintain position at the outer marker for 48 hours. After that time, we must assume mission failure and withdraw. Elara nodded. Standard protocol, though she appreciated him not sugarcoating it. The Coalition vessel you're seeking is the Horizon's Dawn, Kael continued. A research ship that was mapping the outer boundaries of the Nyx's Maw phenomenon when it suffered catastrophic engine failure. Its last transmission indicated that the research team secured their findings in the ship's vault before abandoning ship. We believe all escape pods were launched, but none have been recovered. So I'm retrieving data from a ghost ship, Elara observed. Most likely, the intelligence is stored on quantum-locked data crystals in the ship's secure vault. You'll need these access codes. Kael transferred the information to her shuttle's computer. The crystals contain detailed scans of Nyx's Maw, including unusual energy signatures that could be weaponized. By who? The Kethvari hegemony has shown interest in the region. Their ships have been detected at the periphery of the system. The Kethvari, a militaristic species known for their biological weapons and territorial aggression. If they obtain data on how to weaponize a black hole's properties, the balance of power in the sector would shift dramatically. Understood, Elara said. I'll make sure they don't get it. Rin stepped forward, his bioluminescence now a steady blue. The shuttle will automatically transmit all sensor data back to the Star Chaser while communication remains possible. Even if... He hesitated. Even if you don't return, the scientific value will be significant. Glad to know my death will advance science, Alara replied dryly. But she softened it with a smile. Thank you, Rin, for everything. The Alori reached out, something clutched in his slender fingers. One last modification, he said, attaching a small device to her combat suit's collar. A personal temporal stabilizer, experimental technology. It might help counteract the time dilation effects you'll experience. Alara touched the device gently. You've been holding out on me. It's untested, Rin admitted, but the theory is sound. Commander Kale stepped back, signaling the end of preparations. The mission is now active. Captain Voss, may your human resilience prove as remarkable as the stories claim. The crew withdrew, leaving Alara alone in the shuttle. As the bay doors cycled open, revealing the vast expanse of space beyond, she initiated the launch sequence. The shuttle's engines ignited with a deep, resonant hum, more powerful than standard, thanks to Rin's modifications. Shuttle 1 to Star Chaser Control, requesting departure clearance, she transmitted. Clearance granted. Shuttle 1, came the response. Safe hunting, Captain Voss. The shuttle glided smoothly from the bay, its thrusters adjusting automatically to the frictionless environment of space. As Alara oriented the craft toward the distant distortion that marked Nyx's maw, she felt the familiar pre-mission calm settling over her, the focused stillness that had kept her alive through countless high-risk operations. Activating long-range sensors, she announced, more for her own benefit than for the Star Chaser's records. Beginning approach vector to target coordinates. The black hole wasn't visible in the conventional sense. Rather, it manifested as a dark sphere surrounded by a brilliant accretion disk. Superheated matter spiraling inward as it was consumed by the singularity at the center. The effect was hypnotic, beautiful in its terrible power. As the shuttle accelerated toward Nyx's maw, Alara checked the sensor readings. The horizon's dawn was there, a small, dim signal against the chaotic energy patterns surrounding the black hole. It was drifting slowly but inexorably toward the event horizon, the point of no return. I've got a fix on the target, she transmitted back to the Star Chaser. Estimated intercept in 73 minutes. Confirmed. Shuttle 1, responded the communications officer. Be advised, we're detecting another vessel at the edge of sensor range. Configuration suggests Kethvari design. Alara's jaw tightened. Hostile? Unknown. They're maintaining distance but appear to be observing the horizon's dawn as well. Understood. I'll proceed with caution. The shuttle crossed the outer boundary of the gravitational distortion zone, and immediately Alara felt the difference. The craft's stabilizers hummed louder, compensating for the increasing gravitational pull. Warning indicators flashed on her console, subtle now, but a harbinger of the challenges ahead. As she penetrated deeper into the distortion zone, space itself seemed to warp around the shuttle. Stars visible through the viewports stretched into long, thin lines of light. The accretion disk grew more prominent, a blazing ring of matter circling the darkness at its center. Gravitational forces increasing, Alara reported. Compensators functioning at 20% capacity. Copy that. Shuttle 1, came the reply. The transmission now noticeably distorted. We're experiencing communication degradation. Prepare for intermittent contact. Roger that. A sudden jolt interrupted her as the shuttle encountered a gravitational wave. The craft shuddered violently, systems flickering momentarily before stabilizing. Encountered turbulence, all systems operational. The response from the Star Chaser was broken, unintelligible fragments reaching her through the increasing distortion. If you can hear me, I'm continuing approach. Alara transmitted, knowing communication might already be one way. "We'll attempt to establish contact after retrieval." The shuttle pressed onward, its reinforced hull groaning under the strain of the gravitational forces. Ahead, the horizon's dawn grew larger in her viewports, a sleek research vessel designed for scientific exploration rather than the harsh conditions it now endured. Its hull showed signs of stress, portions buckled and warped by the relentless pull of the black hole. As Alara maneuvered her shuttle toward the drifting ship, she noted with concern how close it had already come to the event horizon. The temporal distortion was significant here. According to her instruments, time was passing approximately 1.7 times slower for her than for the star chaser. "Beginning docking procedure," she announced to the empty cabin, maintaining protocol despite the broken communications. Estimated 20 minutes until gravitational compensator failure. The shuttle's automated systems locked onto the horizon's dawn's primary airlock, guiding her craft into position with gentle thruster bursts. As the docking mechanism engaged, Alara felt the shudder of connection through the shuttle's frame. Pressure. Equalization took longer than normal, the gravitational distortion affecting even this routine process. Finally, the airlock indicator turned green, and Alara secured her helmet before cycling the door. The corridor beyond was dark, emergency lighting casting eerie blue shadows across the abandoned ship. Artificial gravity was still functioning, though irregularly. Alara felt lighter on her feet, as if the ship couldn't quite compensate for the external gravitational forces. "Beginning search pattern," she said into her helmet comm, recording her progress though no one could hear. "Proceeding to Central Security Vault." The ship was eerily silent. The only sound the occasional groan of stressed metal as the structure fought against the pull of Nyx's maw. Alara moved efficiently through the corridors, her combat suit's enhanced sensors mapping the vessel's layout and guiding her toward the central core where the security vault would be located. She checked her chronometer, 17 minutes remaining before her shuttle's compensators failed. The mission timer seemed to be accelerating, seconds ticking away faster than they should. Temporal distortion increasing, she noted. Subjective time approximately 2.1 times slower than objective time. The ship's main research lab showed signs of a hasty evacuation, workstations still active, personal items abandoned, holographic displays flickered with distorted data. The ship's systems struggling to function in the extreme conditions. Alara paused at one terminal, quickly scanning the information displayed. Research notes on Nyx's maw, observations of unusual energy patterns within the accretion disk, theories about quantum fluctuations near the event horizon, the kind of data that could indeed be weaponized in the right hands. A sudden tremor shook the ship, nearly throwing Alara off her feet. The lights flickered, dimmed, then stabilized at a lower intensity. "Structural integrity at risk," she muttered, picking up her pace. "Need to move faster." The security vault was located 2 decks below, in the heart of the vessel. As Alara descended via an emergency ladder, the lifts too risky in the deteriorating conditions, she felt the increasing gravitational pull. Even with her combat suit's enhanced strength, movement was becoming laborious. The vault itself was a reinforced chamber with a heavy, sealed door. Alara accessed the control panel and input the codes Commander Keel had provided. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then the massive door slid open with a pneumatic hiss. Inside, the vault was pristine and untouched. Data crystals lined the walls in organized storage units, each labeled with research categories and security classifications. At the center, in a specially designed containment field, hovered a single crystal larger than the others, pulsing with an inner light that shifted between deep purple and midnight blue. "Target located," Alara reported to her recorder. "Retrieving primary data crystal." She carefully deactivated the containment field and secured the crystal in a specialized compartment on her combat suit. As an afterthought, she grabbed several of the smaller crystals as well, backup data that might prove valuable. Another violent tremor shook the ship, this one lasting longer than the previous. Warning alarms began to sound throughout the vessel. "Hull breach detected on Deck 4, announced the ship's automated system, its voice distorted and warped. "Emergency protocols activated. All personnel proceed to evacuation points." Elara checked her chronometer, 12 minutes remaining, enough time to return to the shuttle if nothing else went wrong. She was halfway back to the upper deck when the next tremor hit, stronger than any before. The ship lurched sideways, artificial gravity fluctuating wildly. Elara was thrown against a bulkhead, pain flaring across her ribs. "Structural integrity failure imminent," warned the automated system. "Critical systems failing," as if to emphasize the point. The emergency lighting failed, plunging the corridor into darkness. Elara activated her suit's illumination, the beam cutting through the blackness. 9 minutes, she reminded herself, pushing forward despite the pain in her side. "Just need to reach the airlock." The return journey was a nightmarish obstacle course of warped corridors, malfunctioning doors, and increasingly severe gravitational fluctuations. By the time Elara reached the airlock connecting to her shuttle, she was moving at a fraction of her normal speed, each step requiring conscious effort against the growing gravitational pull. "Initiating emergency departure protocols," she gasped as she cycled through the airlock and collapsed into the shuttle's pilot seat. 7 minutes to compensate a failure." The docking mechanism disengaged with a metallic clang, and Elara fired the thrusters, putting distance between her shuttle and the doomed research vessel. Through the viewport, she watched as the horizon's dawn continued its inexorable journey toward oblivion, its hull now visibly distorting as it approached the event horizon. Elara activated the shuttle's navigation system, plotting a course away from Nyx's maw. The engine strained against the gravitational pull, alarms blaring as systems approached their limits. "Compensators at 85% capacity," she reported. "Estimated failure in 6 minutes, 20 seconds. The escape vector Commander Kyle had provided appeared on her navigation display, a precise trajectory that would use the accretion disk's energy to propel the shuttle away from the black hole's grasp. It required passing perilously close to the event horizon itself, closer than any vessel had ever ventured and survived. As Elara adjusted course to align with the escape vector, her sensors detected movement. The Kethvari vessel had changed position, moving to intercept her shuttle's projected path. "Hostile contact confirmed," she muttered, "because this wasn't difficult enough already." The Kethvari ship was larger than her shuttle, its predatory design reflecting its creator's aggressive nature. It maneuvered with surprising agility despite the gravitational distortion, positioning itself directly in her escape path. A transmission cut through the static on her communication system, guttural Kethvari language translated by her shuttle's computer. "Human vessel. Surrender your cargo and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction." Elara didn't bother responding. Instead, she diverted power from life support to weapons, bringing the shuttle's defensive systems online. It wasn't much. The craft was designed for retrieval, not combat, but it might be enough to create an opening. "Compensators at 92% capacity," she noted. 5 minutes to failure. The Kethvari ship fired a warning shot, the energy beam passing close enough to her shuttle to register on the heat sensors. Elara responded with a burst from her craft's pulse cannons, not aiming to destroy, but to distract. The maneuver worked. As the Kethvari vessel adjusted to avoid her fire, Elara executed a tight turn, diving beneath the larger ship and accelerating toward the escape vector. The sudden movement strained the shuttle's structural integrity, warnings flashing across her console. "Compensators at 97%. The system warned. "Critical failure imminent." The Kethvari ship pursued, but Elara had the advantage of a head start and a smaller, more maneuverable craft. She pushed the engines beyond safety parameters, the shuttle shuddering as it accelerated toward the accretion disk. This was the most dangerous part of the escape plan, using the intense energy of the accretion disk to generate a slingshot effect. Too close, and she'd be incinerated by the superheated plasma. Too far, and she wouldn't generate enough momentum to escape the black hole's gravitational well. "Initiating slingshot maneuver," she announced, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "May whoever's listening have mercy on my soul." The shuttle plunged toward the brilliant ring of the accretion disk, sensors screaming warnings as radiation levels spiked and gravitational forces intensified. Behind her, the Kethvari ship hesitated, unwilling to follow such a reckless trajectory. As the shuttle skimmed the outer edge of the accretion disk, Alara felt the craft buck and twist like a living thing in pain. The viewport filled with blinding light, instruments failing as the intense energy overwhelmed the sensors. Compensator failure in 3, 2, 1. The gravitational compensators gave out with a catastrophic surge of energy that rippled through the shuttle's systems. Emergency protocols activated automatically, diverting power to essential systems, life support, engines, structural integrity. For a terrifying moment, Alara felt the black hole's pull strengthening, dragging her inexorably toward the event horizon. The shuttle's engines screamed in protest, vibrations threatening to tear the craft apart. Then, imperceptibly at first, the shuttle's trajectory began to change. The slingshot effect was working, using the accretion disk's energy to counteract the gravitational pull. Slowly, agonizingly, the shuttle began to pull away from Nyx's maw. Alara allowed herself a moment of hope. Then her sensors detected the Kethvari ship again. It had circled around, positioning itself to intercept her as she emerged from the slingshot maneuver. "Not today," Alara growled, diverting the last reserves of power to the engines. The shuttle surged forward, racing toward the narrowing window of escape. The Kethvari vessel fired again, this time scoring a direct hit on the shuttle's port side. Systems failed across the board, the craft spinning out of control as Alara fought to stabilize it. "Hull breach detected," announced the shuttle's computer. "Emergency seals activated. Life support compromised." Alara's combat suit automatically sealed, providing temporary life support. She had minutes, at most, before the oxygen ran out. The shuttle continued its outward trajectory, but damage from the Kethvari attack had compromised its structural integrity. It wouldn't survive the transition out of the gravitational distortion zone. As the Kethvari ship moved in for the kill, a desperate plan formed in Alara's mind. She accessed the shuttle's self-destruct sequence, setting a delayed timer. Then she secured the data crystals in her suit's storage compartment and moved to the emergency evacuation pod, little more than a reinforced bubble designed to keep an occupant alive until rescue arrived. "Sometimes survival is enough," she told herself as she sealed the pod and initiated emergency ejection. The pod blasted free from the dying shuttle just as the Kethvari vessel moved into tractor beam range. Seconds later, the shuttle detonated in a spectacular explosion that engulfed the Kethvari ship, crippling its systems. Alara's pod, small and undetectable amidst the debris, continued along the escape vector, riding the momentum generated by the slingshot maneuver. She was still deep in the gravitational distortion zone, but moving outward, away from Nyx's maw's lethal embrace. The temporal stabilizer Rin had given her pulsed at her collar, growing warm against her skin as it fought to maintain normal time flow. Through the pod's small viewport, Alara watched as space gradually returned to normal, the stretched starlight resuming its natural appearance. Her oxygen levels dropped steadily, the small pod's limited life support taxed by the extreme conditions. As consciousness began to fade, Alara's last coherent thought was of her fallen comrades from Taraxis Prime. "Did I do enough?" she wondered, as darkness claimed her. "Is this enough to balance the scales?" Awareness returned slowly, fragmentary sensations coalescing into coherent thought. The steady beep of medical monitoring equipment, the antiseptic smell of a med bay, the subtle vibration of a starship at cruising speed. Elara opened her eyes to the familiar environment of the Star Chaser's medical facility. Rin stood nearby, his skin pulsing with bright green patterns. Joy. In Ailori emotional display. "She's awake," he announced, moving to her bedside. "Captain, can you hear me?" Elara tried to speak, found her throat dry and raw. Rin offered water, supporting her head as she drank. "The data crystals," she managed finally. "Did you recover them? They were still secured in your suit when we found you." Rin confirmed. "Already transferred to High Command. They're quite impressed, both with the intelligence retrieved and with your survival. The Kethvari ship? Destroyed in the explosion. Your tactical thinking remains unparalleled." Elara attempted to sit up, wincing as pain flared across her ribs. "How did you find me? The pod's beacon wouldn't have penetrated the distortion." "We didn't find you," came Commander Kael's voice as he entered the medbay. "You found us." The Tressian commander moved to stand at the foot of her bed, his crystalline form reflecting the medbay's lights in complex patterns. "Your pod emerged from the distortion zone approximately 6 hours after we lost contact," he explained. "By all calculations, you should have been trapped within the event horizon. The temporal displacement alone should have been insurmountable." "Rin's temporal stabilizer," Elara guessed, her hand moving to her collar where the device had been. "That accounted for some of the effect." Rin acknowledged, his skin shifting to a thoughtful blue. "But not all. The rest was unprecedented. The rest was human stubbornness," Kael stated, mandibles clicking in what Elara recognized as respect. "You achieved what our scientists considered theoretically impossible. You escaped a black hole's gravitational well?" Elara lay back, processing this information. "How long was I out there?" "From our perspective, approximately 26 hours. Rin answered. "From yours?" He hesitated. "The temporal displacement readings from your suit suggest you experienced only about 14 hours. Time dilation effects should have been far more severe. The gossip networks are already buzzing with the news," Kael added. "The human who walked away from a black hole. Your species' reputation for improbable survival has reached new heights." Elara closed her eyes, suddenly exhausted despite having just awakened. "So now I'm a legend," she murmured. "Perfect." "You sound displeased," Kael observed. "Legends have to live up to themselves." "Commander, it gets exhausting." Rin's skin pulsed with soft amber waves. "Concern. You need rest. The medical officer says you suffered significant radiation exposure and physical trauma. Recovery will take time." "I'll leave you to it," Kael said, moving toward the door. He paused, turning back. "For what it's worth, Captain Voss, I believe I understand now." "Understand what?" "Why humans do the impossible. It's not just survival instinct or duty or even redemption." His mandibles clicked softly. "It's defiance, against fate, against limitations, against the universe itself." After Kael departed, Rin remained, adjusting Elara's medication and monitoring her vital signs. "He's wrong, you know," Elara said quietly. "It's not defiance. Not really." "Then what is it?" Rin asked, his bioluminescence dimming to a curious indigo. Elara considered the question, thinking of Earth's night sky, of ancient humans staring up at the stars and dreaming of reaching them despite the seeming impossibility. "Hope," she said finally. "The irrational, persistent belief that there's always a way forward, even when logic and physics say otherwise." She smiled faintly. "It's probably our greatest strength and our greatest weakness." Rin's skin rippled with contemplative patterns. "The data you recovered suggests something remarkable about Nix's Maw. The research team discovered quantum irregularities near the event horizon, points where the normal laws of physics bend." That's what the Kethvari were after? Yes. As a weapon, such knowledge would be devastating. But as a scientific discovery, Rin's luminescence brightened. It suggests possibilities we never imagined, including theoretical methods of surviving what we thought was unsurvivable. So I didn't cheat physics after all, Elara mused. I just found a loophole. The universe is stranger than we know. Rin agreed, and perhaps more forgiving than we feared, as Rin left her to rest. Elara thought about the implications for the black hole. The most absolute, unforgiving force in the universe contained exceptions to its own rules. What other impossibilities might actually be possible? The question followed her into sleep, where for the first time in years, she didn't dream of Taraxis Prime. Instead, she dreamed of stars, of possibilities, of pathways through the darkness. Word of Elara's survival spread rapidly through the Galactic Coalition. By the time the Star Chaser reached the nearest starbase 2 weeks later, the story had already become legend, embellished and exaggerated with each retelling. Elara, still recovering in the medbay, watched the news reports with a mixture of amusement and dismay. According to the latest versions, she had fought off an entire Kethvari battle group before diving into the black hole itself and emerging unscathed on the other side. Your fame grows by the hour, observed Commander Kale as he entered with Rin. High Command is considering a formal commendation ceremony. Wonderful, Elara said dryly. More attention is exactly what I need. You could decline, Rin suggested, his skin pulsing gently. Request a quiet transfer instead. And disappoint all those who believe humans can walk through black holes? I wouldn't dare. Kael's mandibles clicked in amusement. You jest, but the impact of your mission extends beyond mere legend. The data you recovered has already revolutionized our understanding of singularities, and the demonstration of your escape method, however improbable, has changed what we consider possible. That's something, at least, Elara acknowledged. Worth nearly dying for. Dr. Selvin says you're cleared for light duty, Rin informed her. If you feel up to it, there's someone who wishes to speak with you. Elara raised an eyebrow. Who? A human, Kael replied. From Coalition Strategic Command. They arrived yesterday specifically to debrief you. Curiosity piqued. Elara agreed to the meeting. After Kael and Rin left, she carefully changed from the medical gown into a standard uniform, moving gingerly to accommodate her still healing ribs. The visitor was waiting in the Star Chaser's conference room, a tall, distinguished human woman with silver-streaked dark hair and the insignia of a Coalition admiral on her uniform. Captain Voss, the woman greeted her. I'm Admiral Helena Reyes, Coalition Strategic Command. Please, sit. You're still recovering. Elara took a seat, studying the Admiral cautiously. Strategic Command operated in the shadows, handling the Coalition's most sensitive operations. I'm honored, Admiral, but confused. Debriefings are typically handled by field agents, not admirals. Reyes smiled thinly. This isn't a typical debriefing. Captain, this is a recruitment conversation. Recruitment? Elara echoed. I'm already serving the Coalition. In a conventional capacity. Yes. What I'm offering is something different. Reyes activated a holographic display, showing a small, specialized vessel unlike any Elara had seen before. Project Threshold, a covert initiative exploring the boundaries of what we consider possible and impossible. Elara studied the ship design. Experimental technology? Beyond experimental. Revolutionary. Incorporating what we've learned from anomalies like Nix's Maw and similar phenomena. Reyes leaned forward. Your mission demonstrated something we've long suspected, that humans possess unique qualities that make us especially suited for exploring these boundaries. Because we're too stubborn to die when we should? Elara asked wryly. Because you instinctively find paths where others see only walls, Reyes corrected. The temporal stabilizer your Aloy friend gave you should have failed completely in those conditions. Instead, it functioned beyond its design parameters. We believe that was at least partly due to your influence. Alara frowned. That doesn't make scientific sense. Hence Project Threshold. Reyes changed the holographic display to show star charts marked with unusual energy signatures. We're discovering places throughout the galaxy where reality behaves differently, where intent seems to influence outcome in measurable ways. We need explorers who can navigate these anomalies, people whose minds naturally push against limitations. And you think I'm one of those people because I survived a black hole. I think you're one of those people because you've survived 7 supposedly unsurvivable missions before Nyx's Maw. Reyes countered. Your record isn't luck. Captain Voss, it's a pattern. Alara sat back, considering the implications. What exactly would this role entail? Command of your own vessel, a specialized crew, freedom to explore the boundaries I've described, with the backing of coalition resources but minimal bureaucratic oversight. And the catch? Reyes smiled, a genuine expression this time. The catch is that we don't know what you'll find. The universe is stranger than our current science can explain. You may discover wonders beyond imagination, or horrors we can't yet conceive. Sounds dangerous? Extremely, but also potentially transformative, both for humanity and for the coalition as a whole. Alara thought of Taraxis Prime, of the comrades she'd lost there. She'd spent years trying to balance those scales through increasingly dangerous missions. Perhaps this was where that path had been leading all along. When would this start? She asked finally. After you've fully recovered. 3 months, perhaps. Time for proper training and preparation. Reyes deactivated the holographic display. I don't need your answer today. Captain, take time to consider the offer. As the Admiral rose to leave, Alara remained seated, her mind already racing with possibilities. Admiral, she called as Reyes reached the door, these anomalies you mentioned, could they include ways to reverse time, to change past events? Reyes turned back, her expression unreadable. Are you thinking of Taraxis Prime, Captain? Alara stiffened. How do you know about that? Your psychological profile is quite detailed. Your motivations are clear, if not to yourself, then to those who've studied your career. Reyes's voice softened slightly. The past cannot be changed, Captain Voss, but the future, that's another matter entirely. After the Admiral departed, Alara made her way to the Star Chaser's observation deck. The star base filled half the viewport, a sprawling structure teeming with life and activity. Beyond it stretched the vast expanse of space, infinite, mysterious, filled with both danger and promise. Rin found her there some time later, his bioluminescence a gentle, questioning blue. The Admiral offered you a new assignment, he guessed. Something like that, Alara confirmed. How did you know? Your expression. It's the same one you had before the Nyx's Maw mission, a mixture of trepidation and anticipation. Alara smiled faintly. You're getting better at reading human emotions. I've had an excellent subject to study. Rin moved to stand beside her, both of them gazing out at the stars. Will you accept the offer? I'm considering it. Because of Taraxis Prime? Rin asked softly. Are you still trying to balance those scales? Alara thought about the question carefully. The weight of survival guilt had driven her for so long, pushing her toward increasingly dangerous missions in search of, what? Redemption, absolution, or simply an end that would balance the cosmic ledger. But surviving Nyx's Maw had shifted something within her. Perhaps it wasn't about balancing scales after all. Perhaps it was about moving forward, carrying the memory of those lost comrades not as a burden but as an inspiration. No, she said finally. Not for Taraxis Prime, for what comes next. Rin's skin pulsed with understanding. The human who walked away from a black hole, walking toward new horizons. Something like that. Elara agreed. Though the legends will probably say I'm off to wrestle neutron stars or challenge the heat death of the universe. Let them talk, Rin said. Legends serve their purpose. They inspire others to push boundaries they might otherwise accept as fixed. As the Star Chaser prepared to depart the starbase the following day, Elara stood on the bridge beside Commander Kael. The crew worked with practiced efficiency around them, preparing for the jump to faster-than-light travel. You'll be leaving us at the next port, Kael observed. Strategic Command has already processed the transfer. News travels fast, Elara commented. Almost as fast as your reputation. Kael's crystalline form shifted in the Tressian equivalent of a shrug. The human who defied a black hole. It makes for a compelling story. Too compelling. The truth was less dramatic. Was it? Kael's 4 eyes fixed on her. You calculated the odds. You knew survival was improbable, yet you proceeded anyway, and succeeded where our best scientific models predicted failure. I got lucky. Perhaps, Kael allowed, or perhaps there is something in the human spirit that our equations cannot account for, a variable we have yet to quantify. The Star Chaser hummed as its FTL drive engaged. The viewports momentarily filled with the strange, shifting colors of hyperspace transition. When they cleared, the stars had changed. A new sector, new possibilities. Whatever this new assignment holds, Kael said, I suspect you will continue to defy probability. Captain Voss. Elara watched the stars streaming past. Each one a sun with worlds potentially circling it. Each world a canvas of possibilities. That's what humans do, Commander, she replied. We look at the impossible and see a challenge, not a limitation. It's gotten us this far. As the Star Chaser continued its journey through the stars, the story of the human who walked away from a black hole spread throughout the galaxy. With each telling, it grew more fantastic, more impossible, and inspired more beings to question what other impossibilities might actually be possible. And Elara Voss, no longer haunted by past failures but looking toward future horizons, prepared for her next journey into the unknown, the improbable, the supposedly impossible. For that was humanity's true strength, not merely survival, but the audacity to imagine pathways where none seemed to exist, and the courage to walk them regardless of the odds.